Hello and welcome to day 163 of our Chronological Bible in a Year reading plan. Today we have 1 Kings chapter 7 and 2 Chronicles chapter 4. Just two chapters today. They must be longer ones. Yeah, it looks like it. Okay, 1 Kings chapter 7. And Shelomo built his own house for 13 years, and he completed his entire house. And he built the house of the forest of Lebanon. It was 100 amma long and 50 amma wide and 30 amma high, with 4 rows of cedar columns and cedar beams on the columns. And it was paneled with cedar above the beams that were on 45 columns, 15 to a row. And there were windows with narrowed frames in 3 rows, and window was opposite window 3 times. And all the doorways and doorposts had square frames, and window was opposite window 3 times. And he made the porch of the columns 50 amma long and 30 amma wide. And the porch was in front of them, and the columns in the roof was in front of them. And he made a hall for the throne, the hall of right ruling, where he ruled. And it was paneled with cedar from floor to floor. And the house where he was to dwell, the other courtyard within the hall, was of like workmanship. And Shelomo made a house like this hall for Pharaoh's daughter, whom he had taken. All these were of precious stone hewn to size, sawed with a saw inside and out from the foundation to the coping, and also on the outside to the great courtyard. And the foundation was of precious stone, large stones, stones of 10 amma and stones of 8 amma. And above were precious stones hewn to size in cedar wood. So the great courtyard all around had 3 rows of hewn stones and a row of cedar beams, as was the inner courtyard of the house of Yahuwah and the porch of the house. And sovereign Shelomo sent and brought Hiram from Zor. He was the son of a widow from the tribe of Naphtali, and his father was a man of Zor, a bronze worker. And he was filled with wisdom and understanding, and skill in working with all kinds of bronze work. So he came to sovereign Shelomo and did all his work. And he cast 2 columns of bronze, each one 18 amma high, and a line of 12 amma measured the circumference of each. And he made 2 capitals of cast bronze to put on the tops of the columns. The height of one capital was 5 amma, and the height of the other capital was 5 amma. A lattice network with wreaths of chainwork for the capitals which were on top of the columns, 7 chains for one capital and 7 for the other capital. And he made the columns and 2 rows of pomegranates above the network all around to cover the capitals that were on top, and so he did for the other capital. And the capitals that were on top of the columns in the hall were in the shape of lilies, 4 amma. And there were capitals above also on the 2 columns by the bulge which was next to the network, and the pomegranates were 200 in rows on each of the capitals all around. And he put up the columns by the porch of the Hakal, which is the temple. And he put up the column on the right and called its name Yakin, and he put up the column on the left and called its name Boaz. And on the top of the columns was lily work. Thus the work of the columns was completed. And he made the sea of cast metal, 10 amma from one rim to the other, round all about, and 5 amma high, and a line of 30 amma measured around it. And below its rim were ornaments all around, 10 to an amma, all the way around the sea. The ornaments were cast in 2 rows when it was cast. It stood on 12 oxen, 3 facing north, and 3 facing west, and 3 facing south, and 3 facing east. And the sea was put upon them, and all their back parts were inward. And it was a tophah thick, and its rim was shaped like the rim of a cup, like a lily blossom. It held 2,000 baths. And he made 10 stands of bronze. Each stand was 4 amma long and 4 amma wide and 3 amma high. And this is how the stands were made. They had side panels, and the side panels were between frames. And on the side panels that were between the frames were lions, oxen, and cherubim, which are angelic beings, and a pedestal above on the frame. Below the lions and oxen were wreaths of beaten work. And each stand had 4 bronze wheels and axles of bronze, and its 4 feet had supports. Under the basin were cast supports beside each wreath. And its opening inside the crown at the top was 1 amma, and the opening was round, like the work of the pedestal, 1.5 amma. And also on the opening were engravings, but the side panels were square, not round. And the 4 panels were under the side panels, and the axles of the wheels were joined to the stand. And the height of a wheel was 1.5 amma. and the wheels were made like chariot wheels. Their axle pins and their rims and their spokes and their hubs were all cast. There were 4 supports at the 4 corners of each stand. Its supports were of the stand itself. On the top of the stand, half an ema in height, round all around. And on the top of the stand, its flanges and its side panels were of the same. And on the plates of its flanges and on its side panels, he engraved cherubim, lions, and palm trees, according to the clear space on each, with wreaths all around. He made the 10 stands like this. All of them were of one mold, one measure, and one shape. And he made 10 basins of bronze. Each basin contained 40 baths, and each basin was 4 ema, one basin on each of the 10 stands. And he put 5 stands on the right side of the house, and 5 on the left side of the house. And he put the sea on the right side of the house to the east, facing the south. On the right side of the house, to the east, facing the south.
Mine just says toward the southeast.
Oh, southeast. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Verse 40. And Hiram made the pots and the shovels and the bowls, and Hiram completed doing all the work that he was to do for sovereign Shlomo on the house of Yahuwah. The 2 columns and the bowl-shaped capitals that were on top of the columns, the 2 networks covering the 2 bowl-shaped capitals which were on top of the columns, the 400 pomegranates for the 2 networks, 2 rows of pomegranates for each network to cover the 2 bowl-shaped capitals that were on top of the columns, and the 10 stands and the 10 basins on the stands, the 1 sea, the 12 oxen under the sea, the pots, the shovels, the bowls, and all these utensils which Hiram made for sovereign Shlomo for the house of Yahuwah were of polished bronze. The sovereign had them cast in clay in the district of Yarden between Sukkoth and Zarethan. And Shlomo left out all the utensils because they were many, nor was the weight of the bronze searched out. So Shlomo made all the utensils for the house of Yahuwah, the altar of gold and the table of gold on which was the showbread, the lampstands of refined gold, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left in front of the speaking place, with the flowers and the lamps and the snuffers of gold, the basins, the snuffers, the bowls, and the ladles, the fire holders of refined gold, and the hinges of gold, both for the doors of the inner house, the most Kadesh place, which is the most holy place, and for the doors of the house of the Hakal, again the temple. Thus all the work which sovereign Shlomo had done for the house of Yahuwah was completed. And Shlomo brought in the Kadesh items of his father David, the silver and the gold and the utensils, and he put them in the treasuries of the house of Yahuwah. And now we're jumping into 2 Chronicles, chapter 4. Yep. 2 Chronicles, chapter 4. And he made an altar of bronze, 20 ema long and 20 ema wide and 10 ema high. And he made the sea of cast metal, 10 ema from one rim to the other, round all about. And its height was 5 ema, and the line of 30 ema measured around it. And figures like oxen were under it, all around it, 10 to an ema, all the way around the sea. 2 rows of oxen were cast when it was cast. It stood on 12 oxen, 3 facing north, and 3 facing west, 3 facing south, and 3 facing east. And the sea was put upon them, and all their back parts were inward. And it was a tophah thick, and its rim was shaped like the rim of a cup, like a lily blossom. It held 3,000 baths. And he made 10 basins, and put 5 on the right side and 5 on the left to wash in them. Excuse me. In them they rinsed off what pertains to the burnt offering, but the sea was for the Kohanim, which are the priests, to wash in. And he made 10 lampstands of gold according to the ruling, and put them in the Hakal, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left. And he made 10 tables, and placed them in the Hakal, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left. And he made 100 bowls of gold. And he made the courtyard of the Kohanim, and the great court and doors for the court. And he overlaid these doors with bronze. And he placed the sea on the right side, eastward over against the south. And Huram made the pots and the shovels and the bowls. So Huram completed doing the work that he was to do for sovereign Shlomo for the house of Elohim. The 2 columns and the bowl-shaped capitals that were on top of the 2 columns, and the 2 networks to cover the 2 bowl-shaped capitals which were on top of the columns, and 400 pomegranates for the 2 networks, 2 rows of pomegranates for each network, to cover the 2 bowl-shaped capitals that were on the columns. And he made stands and the basins on the stands, 1 seat and 12 oxen under it, the pots, the shovels, and the forks, and all their vessels. Huram, his master craftsman, made of polished bronze for sovereign Shlomo for the house of Yahuwah. On the plain of Yarden, the sovereign had them cast in clay molds between Sukkoth and Zeradathah. And Shlomo made so large a number of all these vessels that the weight of the bronze was not searched out. And Shlomo had all the furnishings made for the house of Elohim, and the altar of gold, and the tables on which was the showbread, and the lampstands with their lamps of refined gold, to burn according to right ruling, in front of the speaking place, and the blossoms, and the lamps, and the snuffers of gold, of perfect gold, and the snuffers, and the bowls, and the ladles, and the fire holders of refined gold. The entrance to the house, its inner doors to the most Kadesh place, and the doors of the Hakal of the house were of gold. And that concludes our reading for today. Thank you for joining. I hope you've been reading along, and peace and blessings and love to you. We'll see you in the next one.